Imagine reaching into an old jar of pennies, expecting nothing more than a handful of loose change, only to discover a single coin that could completely change your financial future. It sounds like the kind of story reserved for Hollywood, yet collectors know that extraordinary discoveries happen more often than most people realize. One coin that continues to fuel this excitement is the 1960 Lincoln 1-cent penny. While the average example is worth only a few cents, a tiny number of exceptional pieces with remarkable minting characteristics and flawless preservation have stunned the collecting world with astonishing prices. Before you spend another old penny, you may want to look a little closer. The 1960 penny was struck at the Denver Mint during a period when billions of Lincoln cents were produced for everyday commerce. Because so many were made, millions of Americans assume every 1960 penny is common. That assumption has caused countless valuable coins to disappear into circulation, forgotten in drawers, coin jars, and family collections for decades. Now here is where the story becomes fascinating. Collectors are not simply looking for the date. They are searching for the perfect combination of rarity, condition, and unusual minting characteristics. A sharply struck coin with brilliant original luster, minimal wear, and an eye-catching appearance can attract intense competition whenever it appears at auction. Add a significant mint error, and suddenly an ordinary-looking penny becomes something entirely different. But don't rush to the nearest coin dealer just yet. Have you ever wondered why two pennies with the exact same date can have values separated by hundreds of thousands of dollars? That's the mystery that keeps collectors awake at night. Experts carefully inspect every detail. They examine the lettering, the date, Lincoln's portrait, the wheat-like details in the design, and even the smallest imperfections created during the minting process. Certain off-center strikes, dramatic die cracks, double design elements, or other authentic mint errors can transform an overlooked coin into a headline-making collectible. Now imagine discovering one tucked inside your grandfather's old toolbox. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Yet stories like that continue to inspire collectors across America. As demand for elite Lincoln cents has grown, the competition among serious buyers has become incredibly intense. Wealthy collectors often pursue the finest known examples because they understand one important fact. Truly exceptional coins are limited forever. Once they enter advanced collections, many disappear from the market for years. That scarcity creates opportunity. Some reports and online claims have suggested that extraordinary examples of rare Lincoln cents have reached valuations approaching an incredible $960,000 under exceptional circumstances involving elite rarity, remarkable preservation, and unique collecting demand. While not every claim represents a verified sale of a standard 1960 penny, the possibility of discovering an unusually valuable specimen continues to fuel nationwide treasure hunts. So before you dismiss that dusty coffee can filled with pennies, ask yourself one simple question. What if the coin everyone ignored is the one everyone wishes they had found first? That's exactly how fortunes remain hidden in plain sight. The smartest collectors never clean old coins because cleaning can dramatically reduce value. Instead, they examine each piece under proper lighting, store promising finds safely, and seek professional authentication whenever something unusual appears. One careful decision could mean the difference between spending a rare coin for 1 cent or preserving a remarkable collectible worth a life-changing amount. History has a funny way of rewarding curiosity. Every old penny carries the fingerprints of another era, passing through countless hands before arriving in yours. Most will never become famous, but every remarkable discovery begins with someone willing to look closer than everyone else. Tonight, before another handful of Lincoln cents disappears into a cash register or donation jar, take a second look at every 1960 penny you own. Hidden among ordinary pocket change could be the coin that transforms an everyday collection into an unforgettable story, proving that sometimes the greatest treasures in America aren't buried underground at all. They're waiting quietly in plain sight, just one careful inspection away. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a single penny, only to discover it could be worth more than a luxury mansion. It sounds impossible, yet stories like this have fueled the dreams of collectors across America for decades. The 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark has become one of those fascinating coins that sends people digging through old jars, forgotten piggy banks, and inherited collections. But here's the twist. Most 1978 pennies are worth only 1 cent. A tiny handful, however, have extraordinary characteristics that have transformed them into prizes collectors compete to own. Before you spend another old penny, you may want to hear the rest of this story. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents in 1978, and because Philadelphia pennies of that era carried no mint mark, finding one is incredibly common. The challenge is discovering one that stands apart from the crowd. That's where the real treasure hunt begins. Collectors aren't searching for an ordinary penny. They're searching for exceptional examples with dramatic minting errors, nearly flawless preservation, or unique characteristics that make them incredibly desirable. Imagine examining a coin under bright light and spotting an unusual double design, an off-center strike, or evidence of a rare die variety. Suddenly, what looked like pocket change becomes something worth investigating. Now, here's something that surprises almost everyone. The condition of the coin often matters just as much as any error. A 1978 Lincoln cent that somehow escaped circulation with blazing original red color can command astonishing premiums compared to worn examples. It's a reminder that sometimes history survives in remarkable condition simply because someone forgot to spend it. But don't start planning your dream vacation just yet. The internet is filled with headlines claiming a 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $978,000 or even millions. Those numbers usually refer to exceptionally rare error coins, unique discoveries, or speculative claims, not ordinary circulated pennies. That's exactly why careful authentication is essential before believing any extraordinary value. Think about it. If every 1978 penny were worth a fortune, none of us would still be using pennies. Funny how that works, isn't it? This is where excitement meets reality. Professional collectors inspect every tiny detail. They examine Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, the date, the rim, and even the color of the copper surface. They search for evidence that separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. One overlooked detail can mean the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing opportunity. And here's the part many people miss. Thousands of valuable coins have reportedly passed through cash registers because their owners never realized what they had. That possibility creates a sense of urgency every serious collector understands. Somewhere, another rare coin could still be hiding inside a family coin jar, tucked into an old dresser drawer, or sitting unnoticed inside a coffee can in someone's garage. The Lincoln cent has always represented more than money. Introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, it became part of everyday American life. Every scratch tells a story. Every preserved example captures a moment in history. The 1978 issue reminds us that even modern coins can hold remarkable surprises. So if you own a 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't rush to spend it. Examine it carefully under magnification. Compare it with verified examples. Look for unusual striking errors, exceptional luster, and outstanding preservation. If something seems different, consider having it authenticated by a respected coin grading service. Because history has taught collectors one unforgettable lesson. Extraordinary discoveries usually happen to ordinary people willing to take a closer look. The next penny you inspect may simply be worth 1 cent. Or it could become the coin everyone wishes they had noticed first. And that possibility is exactly what keeps America's greatest treasure hunt alive, 1 penny at a time. Have you ever tossed a 1979 Lincoln penny into a jar without a second thought? What if that ordinary-looking 1-cent coin was quietly waiting for someone who knew exactly what to look for? Every year, countless Americans spend old pennies without realizing that a few unusual examples have captured the attention of serious collectors. The difference between an ordinary cent and an extraordinary one can come down to details so small they are easy to miss, and that is exactly why this story deserves your attention. The 1979 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark was struck for circulation at the Philadelphia Mint, where coins of that era normally carried no mint mark at all. Millions were produced, which makes most examples worth only face value. But hidden among those everyday coins are a handful that stand apart because of exceptional condition, unusual striking characteristics, or rare minting errors. Those are the coins that can ignite bidding wars and make collectors stop in their tracks. Now here's the question that could change the way you look at every handful of pennies. What if the coin in your pocket isn't valuable because of its age, but because of something almost nobody notices? Think about that for a moment. Some of the most desirable 1979 pennies display dramatic off-center strikes, double design elements, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or other genuine mint errors. Others achieve remarkable value because they survived for decades in pristine, nearly flawless condition. In the world of coin collecting, perfection is incredibly rare, and rarity is where extraordinary value begins. Imagine cleaning out an old coffee can in the garage, finding a handful of copper-colored pennies, and discovering that one of them deserves a closer inspection. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Yet stories like that continue to inspire collectors across America. Here's where things become even more interesting. You may have seen headlines claiming certain rare 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies have reached values approaching $979,000 under extraordinary circumstances involving unique errors, elite grading, and exceptional collector demand. Those figures represent extremely rare cases rather than typical market prices, but they remind us of an important lesson. Never judge a coin by its face value alone. That tiny piece of copper could tell a story stretching back more than 4 decades. It has passed through grocery stores, gas stations, family vacations, and forgotten piggy banks. Every scratch, every mark, every mile traveled adds another chapter to its journey. But don't rush to celebrate just yet. Counterfeit alterations and damaged coins are far more common than genuine rarities. That's why experienced collectors study every detail carefully before making assumptions. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, the date, and the reverse design. Compare your coin with verified examples, and if something truly appears unusual, professional authentication can make all the difference. Here's a funny thought. We check our phones hundreds of times a day, but when was the last time we checked the pennies sitting in our own home? Sometimes the greatest treasure hunt begins in the couch cushions instead of on a pirate ship. The excitement surrounding rare coins isn't really about becoming rich overnight. It's about possibility. It's about realizing that history can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. So before you spend another old penny, pause for just a second. That simple habit could save you from accidentally giving away something far more valuable than 1 cent. Whether your 1979 Lincoln penny becomes a fascinating keepsake or an exceptional collector's prize, you'll never know unless you take the time to look. Because sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest surprise, and the next remarkable discovery could already be sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting for the moment you finally decide to pay attention. Have you ever tossed a 1986 Lincoln penny into a jar, a cup holder, or a cash register without giving it a second thought? What if one ordinary-looking coin was quietly hiding a story that could change the way you look at every penny you own? Most people believe only ancient coins are valuable. That's exactly why remarkable discoveries keep happening. The biggest treasures often hide in plain sight, and today's pocket change could be tomorrow's headline. But before you start celebrating, there's one detail almost everyone misses, and it can make the difference between a 1-cent coin and a life-changing collector's prize. The 1986 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, where pennies of that era normally carried no mint mark at all. That means the missing mint mark alone does not make the coin rare. The real excitement begins when collectors discover an exceptional combination of condition, unusual minting characteristics, or a genuine mint error. Those are the coins that stop experienced collectors in their tracks. Now imagine opening an old coffee can filled with pennies collected decades ago. Most people would see loose change. A trained collector sees possibilities. Sharp lettering, original copper shine, perfectly centered details, and surfaces untouched by circulation can dramatically increase collector interest. Add a legitimate mint error into the mix, and suddenly an ordinary penny starts telling a very different story. Here's where things become fascinating. Collectors spend years searching for double designs, off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and other authentic mint errors. These aren't damage caused after the coin left the mint. They're mistakes created during production, making each genuine error a unique piece of American minting history. And here's a question for you. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies sitting in your home? Be honest. They're probably waiting inside a drawer that's become a retirement home for forgotten coins. Funny how a penny can spend 30 years ignored before suddenly becoming everyone's favorite family member. But don't rush just yet, because another surprise is waiting. Condition is everything. Two 1986 no-mint mark pennies may look almost identical to the average person, yet one could be worth only face value while another, preserved in outstanding condition with a significant authenticated error, could attract serious bidding from collectors. That's why experienced numismatists examine every tiny detail under magnification instead of relying on internet myths or wishful thinking. You've probably seen eye-catching stories claiming ordinary pennies are worth hundreds of thousands or even nearly $1 million. Those extraordinary prices, when they occur at all, are tied to exceptionally rare circumstances, elite preservation, and verified characteristics, not simply because the coin is dated 1986. Knowing that difference could save you from overlooking a genuine treasure or believing unrealistic claims. Think about the excitement of discovering that one overlooked coin everyone else ignored. Families have inherited collections without realizing what they contained. Estate boxes, old piggy banks, forgotten jars in the garage, and even loose change from decades ago have surprised collectors before. That's why careful examination always beats quick assumptions. The greatest treasure hunters share one habit. They stay curious. They slow down. They inspect every detail. They understand that patience often rewards the people willing to look closer than everyone else. So before another handful of pennies disappears into a vending machine or gets exchanged at the bank, ask yourself one simple question. What if the coin you never bothered to examine turns out to be the one collectors have been searching for? Sometimes the greatest opportunities don't announce themselves with flashing lights. Sometimes they arrive disguised as a single copper-colored penny quietly waiting for someone curious enough to notice its extraordinary story. Have you ever looked at the pennies hiding in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that forgotten jar on a shelf and wondered if one of them could quietly change your financial future? It sounds almost impossible, yet stories of ordinary people discovering extraordinary coins continue to fascinate collectors across America. Among the coins that sparked the most curiosity is the 1988 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark. Most are worth only a single cent, but a tiny number with rare characteristics and dramatic minting errors have captured the attention of serious collectors. The real question is this. What if you've been carrying one without even knowing it? That possibility is exactly why experienced collectors never rush through their spare change. They know that one overlooked detail can separate an everyday coin from a remarkable collectible. And here's something that surprises many beginners. The absence of a mint mark on a 1988 Lincoln cent is completely normal because those coins were struck in Philadelphia. The real excitement begins only when an already ordinary coin also displays an extraordinary error or exceptionally rare condition. Now imagine this. You find an old penny while cleaning out a drawer. At first glance it looks completely ordinary. You almost spend it on a cup of coffee. Then curiosity gets the better of you. You grab a magnifying glass and start looking closer. Suddenly, tiny details begin telling a very different story. Could there be a dramatic double design? An unusual die variety? A striking mistake made during production? Or perhaps the coin has somehow survived for decades in nearly flawless condition. Those are the kinds of discoveries that make collectors stop, stare, and sometimes compete fiercely at auction. Here's a question for you. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before spending it? Most of us don't. We glance at quarters, maybe save old silver coins, but pennies? They disappear into circulation every single day. That's exactly why hidden treasures occasionally survive unnoticed. And just when you think you've seen everything, another fascinating discovery appears. A previously overlooked variety. A newly certified error. A remarkable survivor preserved almost perfectly since 1988. The coin market constantly reminds collectors that surprises are part of the adventure. Now, you may have heard sensational headlines claiming a 1988 penny is worth hundreds of thousands or even nearly $1 million. Those stories grab attention, but reality is more nuanced. Exceptional values depend on extraordinary circumstances, such as major mint errors, famous die varieties, or elite certified grades that only a tiny fraction of coins ever achieve. The overwhelming majority of 1988 pennies simply are not worth life-changing amounts. Still, don't lose interest just yet, because that's where the real opportunity begins. Knowledge is far more valuable than luck. Learning how to recognize authentic errors, understanding professional grading, and resisting the temptation to clean a coin can make the difference between preserving value and accidentally destroying it. Think about that for a moment. One quick polish might make a coin shine, but it can also erase much of its collector appeal. Funny how trying to make money sparkle sometimes makes it disappear instead. The smartest collectors move slowly. They compare details carefully, photograph their finds, research known varieties, and seek professional authentication before believing extraordinary claims. Patience consistently beats excitement. Some of the most memorable discoveries began with someone who simply refused to ignore an ordinary-looking coin. They asked one more question, looked one more time, and took one extra step before spending it. So before you empty your pockets tonight or cash in that forgotten jar of pennies, give every 1988 Lincoln cent a closer look. Chances are you'll find an ordinary coin. But if you happen to discover an authentic rare error or an exceptional high-grade example, you could be holding something far more valuable than a single cent. Sometimes the greatest opportunities aren't hiding in distant places. They're waiting quietly in the change you've overlooked all along. The next time someone hands you a penny in change, don't be so quick to spend it. One ordinary-looking 1994 Lincoln cent without a mint mark could be hiding a story that most people never hear. While millions were made for everyday circulation, a tiny handful with extraordinary minting errors and exceptional condition have captured the attention of serious collectors. That means the difference between a common 1-cent coin and a remarkable collectible can come down to details so small they're easy to miss. Imagine discovering that the coin sitting unnoticed in an old jar deserves a second look. Before you assume every 1994 penny is worth only a cent, stay with me, because the most important clue comes later. The 1994 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where pennies traditionally carried no mint mark during that era. Most examples remain common, but the collecting world has always rewarded the unusual. Coins with dramatic minting errors, exceptional preservation, or rare production anomalies have shocked collectors with astonishing auction prices. That's why experienced treasure hunters never judge a coin by its face value alone. Now here's where things become interesting. Suppose you dump a handful of old pennies onto your kitchen table. Which one deserves your attention? The answer isn't always the oldest coin. It's the one with something unexpected. A doubled design. An off-center strike. A broad strike. A clipped planchet. Or surfaces preserved so beautifully that they appear almost untouched after decades. These are the characteristics that can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's prize. And here's a funny thought. Most people spend more time choosing a cup of coffee than checking the pennies in their pocket. Imagine sipping a $5 latte while accidentally spending a coin a collector would have happily examined first. That possibility alone keeps many enthusiasts searching. But don't rush just yet. Not every unusual-looking penny is valuable. Dirt, damage, scratches, and corrosion often fool beginners into thinking they've found a fortune. Real mint errors occurred during production, not after years of circulation. Learning that difference can save disappointment and help you focus on coins with genuine collector interest. Condition matters just as much as rarity. Two identical 1994 pennies can have dramatically different values simply because one has sharp original details, bright surfaces, and almost no signs of wear. Professional grading services evaluate these qualities carefully, giving buyers greater confidence when exceptional coins appear on the market. This is where the story takes another turn. Across America, forgotten collections continue to emerge from estate sales, inherited boxes, old piggy banks, and family coin albums. Every discovery reminds collectors that remarkable finds don't always come from expensive purchases. Sometimes they begin with simple curiosity and the willingness to look closer than everyone else. You may have heard incredible stories claiming a 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is worth hundreds of thousands or even nearly $1 million. Stories like these usually refer to exceptionally rare error coins, unique circumstances, or exaggerated claims circulating online. The reality is that ordinary 1994 pennies are generally worth face value, while only truly exceptional examples with verified rarity can command significant premiums. That is exactly why authentication is essential before believing any extraordinary valuation. So before you cash in that jar of loose change, slow down. Examine every penny carefully under good lighting. Look for unusual doubling, striking errors, missing details, or outstanding preservation. Compare what you see with trusted collector references, and if something genuinely appears extraordinary, have it evaluated by a reputable professional grading service. The greatest discoveries rarely announce themselves with flashing lights. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to notice what everyone else overlooked. Your next handful of pennies may not change your life overnight, but it could spark a journey into one of America's most fascinating hobbies. And if fortune happens to smile along the way, you'll be glad you looked twice before spending that single cent. Have you ever reached into your pocket, grabbed a handful of loose change, and wondered if one ordinary-looking penny could quietly be worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds unbelievable, but that possibility is exactly why collectors search through millions of Lincoln cents every single year. Among the coins that continue to spark excitement is the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Most are worth only a single cent, but a tiny number with the right characteristics have become the focus of intense collector demand. Before you spend another penny without looking, you may want to hear this story all the way through. The 1995 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Since Philadelphia cents traditionally carried no mint mark during that period, millions entered circulation and quickly blended into everyday pocket change. That is exactly what makes this coin so fascinating. Hidden among ordinary examples are a few extraordinary pieces that collectors dream of finding. Now here is where the story takes an unexpected turn. The value of a 1995 no-mint mark penny does not come from its date alone. It comes from condition, rarity, and, most importantly, the possibility of unusual minting errors. Tiny differences that most people overlook can completely transform the value of an otherwise common coin. One of the most famous discoveries associated with 1995 Lincoln cents is strong doubling visible in the lettering and date on certain examples. When dramatic doubling appears on words like liberty or in God we trust, experienced collectors immediately pay attention. Other coins may display off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, die breaks, or other unusual minting characteristics that separate them from billions of ordinary pennies. Think about that for a second. A mistake made in a fraction of a second inside a high-speed minting press decades ago could become the reason a collector is willing to spend an astonishing amount of money today. Sometimes perfection is valuable. Other times, an imperfect coin becomes the true masterpiece. Imagine cleaning out an old jar that has been sitting in your garage for 20 years. You almost pour every penny into a coin-counting machine. Then curiosity makes you stop. You notice a sharp-looking 1995 penny with unusual details. That single decision to look twice instead of spending it could completely change the outcome of the story. Sounds like something from a movie, doesn't it? Yet discoveries just as surprising continue to happen because millions of old coins remain tucked away in drawers, coffee cans, piggy banks, and forgotten collections across America. Of course, not every 1995 no-mint mark penny is a fortune waiting to happen. The overwhelming majority remain worth face value or only a modest premium. But exceptionally preserved coins with significant mint errors or remarkable eye appeal have attracted enormous attention in the collector market. Some sensational examples are discussed with values approaching an incredible $995,000, reminding collectors that rarity and demand can sometimes create astonishing prices for truly extraordinary specimens. That possibility creates both excitement and urgency. Every day, valuable coins accidentally disappear into circulation because people never inspect them closely enough. Once a rare coin is scratched, cleaned improperly, or unknowingly spent, its potential value can change forever. That's why knowledgeable collectors recommend handling unusual coins carefully by their edges and avoiding harsh cleaning methods that can reduce collector interest. Here's a question for you. How many pennies have passed through your hands this year without a second glance? 100? 1,000? Maybe even more. Somewhere among billions of ordinary coins, remarkable treasures continue to hide in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to recognize them. The greatest treasure hunters rarely succeed because they are lucky. They succeed because they pay attention when everyone else is in a hurry. So before you empty that change jar, cash in those old rolls of pennies, or spend the coins tucked away in a forgotten drawer, take one careful look. The next 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln cent you find may simply be another ordinary penny. Or it could become the discovery that transforms a single forgotten coin into the centerpiece of an unforgettable story and perhaps the opportunity of a lifetime.